Welcome back to the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashanti Silva. Today we are spotlighting one of modern jazz's boldest and most introspective voices, Ambrose Akinmusire. During this hour, we are going to be talking about some of his best albums. Now, Ambrose isn't your typical trumpeter. He doesn't dazzle with volume, he invites you in with depth and silence. His debut album, Prelude to Cora, released in 2008 after winning the Thelonious Monk International Trumpet Competition, was anything but flashy. Instead, it whispered. Tracks like Mivos are haunting, cinematic, and unafraid to sit in discomfort, and that's what makes them powerful. Fast forward to 2017's A Rift in Decorum, recorded live at the Village Vanguard. Most artists played safe there. Ambrose didn't. This double album is raw and vulnerable. On Moment in Between the Rest, the trumpet stretches across silence. It's not background music, it's a challenge and a conversation. And in 2023, he gave us Owl Song. Trumpet, guitar and drums. No piano, no bass. The space in this record is massive. Tracks like Weighted Corners feel like meditation. It's music that breathes. So that was some insight into what's coming up during this hour, and this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashanti Silva. We'll be right back after some music. Stay tuned. And welcome back to the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashanti Silva. On this week's episode of the Jazz Update, we're talking about the biography and best hits of one of the most revolutionary voices in modern jazz, Ambrose Akinmusire. During this hour, we will be talking about some of his best albums. Now, Ambrose isn't the kind of trumpeter who commands your attention with sheer volume or flash. Instead, he invites you in. His music whispers truths, plays with silence, and sometimes moans out loud. Across 5 deeply distinct albums, from his 2008 debut Prelude to Cora to his latest sonic meditation Owl Song, he's created a world that's emotional, cerebral, and personal. Let's rewind to 2008. Ambrose had just won the prestigious Thelonious Monk International Trumpet Competition, and rather than deliver a firework-filled debut, he gave us Prelude to Cora. This album doesn't shout, it listens. It's almost shy in its presentation, but that quietness, it's deeply intentional. From the first track, Dreams of the Manbus Niece, we hear vocalist Janko Watanabe floating above textured electronics and drifting horns. It's dreamlike, cinematic, and miles away from traditional hard bop. Then there's Mivos, which stands for My Inappropriate Soundtrack to a Genocide. The name alone tells you this isn't casual listening. The music is haunting, almost hollow, with wailing horns and tension you can feel. What's remarkable is how much Ambrose shares the stage. His bandmates, Walter Smith III, Chris Dingham, Aaron Parks, Justin Brown and Logan Richardson are all given room to breathe, to speak. This debut isn't a solo statement, it's a portrait of quiet leadership, and it's just the beginning. Fast forward to 2017. A Rift in Decorum captures Ambrose live at the legendary Village Vanguard, a sacred space in jazz history. And while most artists play it safe at the Vanguard, Ambrose does the opposite. This double album is bold, messy, and honest. Take Moment in Between the Rest. It's quiet, it's long, it resists easy revolution. His trumpet stretches out across silence, not to fill it but to respect it. It's music that doesn't perform for you, it simply exists and dares you to sit with it. Not everything here is easy. Pianist Sam Harris in particular leads into abstraction. His solos sometimes feel more like questions than answers. Tracks like Withered and Piano Sketch may leave you disoriented. But that's kind of the point. Ambrose doesn't offer comfort, he offers truth. And sometimes truth is uncomfortable. Now let's talk about Owl Song, released at the end of 2083, and this album feels like a deep breath. It's just a small group this time, Ambrose on trumpet, Bill Frisell on guitar, and Hurlin Riley on drums. No bass, no piano, but the space they create, it's massive. Ambrose named the album after his favorite birds, owls, for their calm and watchful nature. And that is exactly what this record feels like. Tracks like Weighted Corners are patient and deliberate. You can hear the breath between the notes. Frisell's guitar almost melts into Ambrose's horn, while Riley's subtle grooves hold the pulse like a heartbeat in the background. And on Owl Song 2, the album's closing track, there's no grand finale, just softness, space, closure without conclusion. It's not an ending, it's a whisper. So what do these albums, Prelude to Cora, A Rift in Decorum, and Owl Song, all have in common? They are patient, they're thoughtful, and they listen. Ambrose Akinmusire doesn't make music to impress, he makes music to connect. He's never taken the easy road. His music asks something of you, but also gives back. From his introspective debut, to his raw live recordings, to his meditative trio work, Ambrose Akinmusire continues to push the form. So that was a quick glimpse into some of Ambrose Akinmusire's best albums of all time, and you're tuned into the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashanti Silva. We'll be right back after some music. Here's Ambrose Akinmusire with Varta. And welcome back to the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashanti Silva. On this week's episode, it's all about trumpet legend Ambrose Akinmusire. Now it's time for some trending festival news. If you're looking to wrap up summer in the coolest way possible, listen up. The 2025 John Coltrane International Jazz and Blues Festival is bringing the heat and the soul to Oak Hollow Festival Park in High Point, North Carolina this Labor Day weekend, August 30th and 31st. This year's lineup, absolutely stacked. On Saturday, its 5-time Grammy Award-winning Snarky Puppy kicks things off with an electrifying fusion of jazz, funk and world music. And don't forget the From Withers to Wonder tribute, a soulful celebration of two icons, Bill Withers and Stevie Wonder, featuring jazz legend Nina Freelon, powerhouse vocalist Clint Holmes, and the incredible 10-time Grammy Award-winning vocal group Take 6. On Sunday, jazz fusion icon and 4-time Grammy winner Stanley Clarke takes the spotlight. From Return to Forever to his solo innovations, Clarke's bass playing is simply legendary. And for smooth jazz lovers, get ready. Rick Braun, Richard Elliott and Peter White are teaming up for a supergroup set you won't forget. Brass, sax, guitar, smooth, soulful and straight fire. Beyond the music, you can explore John Coltrane's hometown with curated itineraries, including a stop at the John Coltrane statue. You're listening to the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan De Silva. We're going for a short break, we'll be right back after that. When we come back, we will be talking about some of Ambrose Akinmusire's best albums of all time. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan De Silva. On this week's episode, it's all about one of modern jazz's boldest visionaries, Ambrose Akinmusire. During this summer, we will be talking about some of his best albums. Here's a quick recap of what's coming up. Across 3 groundbreaking albums, Ambrose pushes jazz into new dimensions. In Origami Harvest, released in 2018, he fuses hip-hop, chamber strings and spoken word into a bold, unflinching reflection on American identity. Then came Beauty Is Enough in 2023, just Ambrose and his trumpet, just 16 meditative sketches. And finally, Honey from a Winter Stone, released this year. It's part ambient poetry, part jazz memoir. Tracks like Muffled Screams and Out feel like sonic conversations, while vocalist Kokai weaves his voice into the music like breath into prayer. And welcome back to the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan De Silva. Today we are taking a journey through the deep, unconventional and often breathtaking musical universe of Ambrose Akinmusire. During this summer, a quick insight into some of his best albums. Over the last several years, Ambrose Akinmusire has moved far beyond genre. Trumpets, strings, hip-hop, ambient textures, he's pulled them all into one revolving musical language. Today, we are exploring 3 albums that showcase just how bold he's reshaped the landscape. Origami Harvest, Beauty Is Enough, and his most recent release, Honey from a Winter Stone. Each of these projects is wildly different, but at their core they share something essential, a need to say something and to say it beautifully. In 2018, Ambrose did something bold even for him. Origami Harvest is a collage of confrontation. It's jazz, it's hip-hop, it's contemporary classical, it's spoken word, and it's a deep, unflinching look at identity. He teams up with the Mivos String Quartet and rapper Kool AD, crafting a suite that grapples with communal issues. It's raw and it's alive. Take Blooming Bloodfruit in a Hoodie, a title alone that's a gut punch. The tension between Kool AD's jagged verses and the string's fragile counterpoint builds a verse that's uneasy by design. The listener is drawn into a world of reflection. But then Miracle and Street Fight arrives. Boom bap raps from Marcus Gilmore, Ambrose's trumpet slicing through, and verses that drift between poetry and prophecy. Gaze at the starry sky, the moon, the tombs of the buried ones. And it hits hard. When the strings swell back in, it feels like the flow drops out. This album's not about polish, it's about truth, and sometimes truth is messy. Fast forward to late 2023 and Ambrose gives us the exact opposite. Beauty Is Enough is just him. No band, no strings, no electronics. Just Ambrose and his trumpet. 16 short solo pieces, and it's stunning. This is a record that doesn't shout. It breathes. It's not about genre, it's about presence. In one moment you'll hear echoes of Bach. In another you'll think of Lester Bowie or silence itself. One of the pieces is barely a minute long, just a single melodic gesture that floats in the air like a question with no answer. These aren't performances, they're meditations or prayers. And there isn't any ego here. Ambrose isn't trying to wow you. He's trying to say something simpler and maybe more profound. Listen, beauty is enough. And as a listener, it's calming and deeply human. Now let's talk about Ambrose's latest. Honey from a Winter Stone, released earlier this year. If Origami Harvest was the shout and Beauty Enough is the whisper, then this one feels like a conversation between everything he's explored so far. Inspired in part by minimalist composer Julius Eastman, this album blends chamber music, ambient textures, jazz phrasing and spoken word. It opens up with Muffled Screams, a track that unfolds like a short film in 4 acts. There's a solo trumpet over soft piano, then strings drift in. Then a rapper, less performer, more narrator, delivers lines like a piece of memory. And finally, we return to a kind of stillness. Then there's Old, where ambient loops and minimal repetitions swirl around Ambrose's horn like a fog. And Kinfolk's 29-minute odyssey through grief, healing and sonic meditation. One of the standouts, the improvising vocalist Kokei, who doesn't just rap, he reacts. He listens. His voice isn't layered over the music, it weaves into it. It's empathetic, it's musical trust in motion. Whether he's surrounded by strings, a rap verse, or nothing but silence, Akinmusire keeps reminding us of something essential. There's power in quiet, there's complexity in restraint, and there's truth in risk. With Origami Harvest, he asked questions. With Beauty Is Enough, he gave us space to breathe. And with Honey from a Winter Stone, he wove these threads into something entirely his own. Something bold, beautiful, and completely unclassifiable. And welcome back to the Weekend Jazz Update with Yashandi Silva. On this week's episode, Ambrose Akinmusire, his biography and best hits. We've come to an end of this week's episode of the Jazz Update, so now let's recap what we were discussing during this program. For 15 years, Ambrose has walked a singular path. He's more than a trumpeter, more than a composer. He's a seeker, always in motion, always listening for what comes next. His music doesn't neatly sit in any one genre. It stretches across jazz, classical, hip-hop, the spoken word and ambient, dissolving boundaries until all that remains is expression. He's been recognized by institutions like the Doris Duke Foundation, the Kennedy Center, and festivals from Montreal to Berlin. But it's not about the accolades. For Ambrose, music is both spiritual and practical, a tool for truth, connection, and community. His debut, Prelude to Cora, released after his win at the Thelonious Monk International Trumpet Competition, was a whisper, haunting, cinematic, and full of space. Then came When the Heart Emerges Glistening, a Blue Note debut full of raw conversation and soul. Albums like The Imagined Savior Is Far Easier to Paint introduced spoken word, strings, and silence as language. On the Tender Spot of Every Callous Moment was all about memory and reflection. And in A Rift in Decorum, recorded live at the Village Vanguard, Ambrose made vulnerability the headline. No polish, no pretense, just fearless honesty in every note. Finally, in 2023's Owl Song, he gave us space. Real space, just trumpet, guitar, and drums. Ambrose Akinmusire doesn't just write music, he builds worlds. Worlds that whisper, challenge, and move. So that was a quick insight into everything that we discussed on this week's episode of the Weekend Jazz Update with Yashandi Silva. And that brings me to an end of this week's episode of the program. Don't forget, you can check out the archives of today's program on my YouTube channel, the Weekend Jazz Update with Yashan. I'll see you again next week. Have a great week ahead.